Well, the main crowd or group that I was a part of as an adolescent, um, going through life, was probably that of being an athlete, and more specifically, being a baseball player, which is kind of like a small little niche or area, but it definitely had a really big impact on my life, and so it was interesting. Um, the requirements, really, um, from the outside, you would think maybe that the requirements would be just being good at baseball, and that necessarily wasn't true. Um, a lot of things went into it, like how well are you liked, how funny are you, what can you um, do for the other guys if it's like helping with homework or other things like that. Um, Values, at least in my experience, were not always necessarily placed on the right thing. Obviously, there's the value of winning, which is huge, um, and then there's also this value of brotherhood. So, like, if you don't turn on your teammates, you don't do things to um, hurt your teammates at all. And then behavior norms, I would definitely say is very masculine. Um, Not a whole lot of vulnerability, not a whole lot of personal sharing. Um, if you did, sometimes you would be laughed at, sometimes you'd be made fun of. So, um, just from an early age, being in that crowd, you just learn to kind of keep things kind of close to your chest, not really show too many vulnerabilities because, at least in my experience, those are taken advantage of. I would definitely say that this impacted my spiritual development, kind of in a roundabout way. So, growing up in the church, being pretty, I, would, I don't want to say like into Christianity, but definitely being on board. And then going and playing baseball, it definitely puts a strain on your spiritual development because the norms in the baseball community, and especially when I got to college my freshman year, are not aligned with the values of Christianity. Even though I went to a private Christian school for my first 3 years of college in Colorado, it didn't line up the way I thought it would, and so definitely had to adjust. And um, you kind of it was like my religion, my Christianity was separate from baseball because I didn't feel like the other guys really understood um, how I felt about it. And there were other guys who were like me, but the majority of those guys were not um, living life the way that they should have been living. Um, and yeah, I just think that it really has impacted me today, just with how I interact with people, with how sometimes it's hard for me to be vulnerable, how I deal with failure. All of those things I think are really impacted by my life in sports, and not just in baseball. Like from the beginning of my life, I've always played sports. My best friends, even before I played organized sports, we would like all we did was play pickup football, pickup basketball, soccer, and so it just I feel like it has a huge impact on my identity as a person. And now wrapping up playing sports really competitively in my last year of college, um, there's definitely going to be a hit on my identity. I'm going to have to figure some things out, but for the time being, I'm kind of pushing that off. But out of all the groups that I've been a part of, I definitely think that being an athlete has been um, the biggest one for me and had the most impact on my life.